Look at this painting carefully. A man stands alone. His hands are bound. He cannot run. He cannot fight. And surrounding him, pressing close, are 7 lions. This should be a painting about death. Every instinct you have tells you that. The bones scattered at his feet tell you that. The darkness pressing in from the walls tells you that. And yet, not one of those lions is touching him. That contradiction is the entire mystery of this canvas. And the deeper you look, the stranger it gets. The painting is titled Daniel in the Lion's Den. It was created in 1872 by a British painter named Briton Rivière, and when it was unveiled at the Royal Academy in London, it did not quietly enter the gallery and wait to be noticed. It erupted. Critics stopped. Crowds gathered. Reproductions spread across England so fast that within years, this image was hanging in private homes from London to Edinburgh, not just in museums. Not just for the educated, for everyone. That almost never happens with a painting this serious, so why did it? The answer is not what you expect, and it begins with something the artist kept hidden in his studio. Briton Rivière was not a typical Victorian painter. Most men of his generation were busy flattering aristocrats, painting rolling pastoral landscapes, chasing the kind of commissions that kept their reputations polished and safe. Rivière was obsessed with animals. Not in a sentimental way, not the way a country gentleman loves his hunting dogs. His obsession had an almost clinical edge. He spent hours inside the Victorian zoological gardens, sketching, watching, recording, studying the way a lion's muscles shift when it coils, the way its ears flatten when it senses something it cannot understand, the specific geometry of its gaze when it has not yet decided whether something is prey. And when a lioness died in captivity, Rivière had the body brought to his studio. He dissected it. He drew it. He needed to know what lay beneath the surface because he understood something that most painters forget. You cannot fake the interior life of a creature. The viewer always knows. That obsession is what you are seeing in this canvas. Those 7 lions are not decorative. They are observed. Each one is psychologically distinct, and that is not an accident. One lion crouches low, weight shifted forward. Another has turned its head, not toward Daniel but slightly away, as though reconsidering. One stares directly, motionless, which in the animal world is the most dangerous posture of all. Not aggression, calculation. You are not looking at 7 lions in a den. You are looking at 7 different psychological states: confusion, aggression, hesitation, hunger, all circling one impossibly calm human being. And that is where the real question begins. The story that inspired this painting appears in the 6th chapter of the book of Daniel, and it is, at its core, a story about political betrayal. Daniel was a high official in Babylon, trusted, respected, and dangerous to those who envied him. His enemies devised a trap that was elegant in its cruelty. They convinced King Darius to sign a decree. No one in the kingdom could pray to any god but the king himself, under penalty of death. They knew what Daniel would do. They had watched him. 3 times a day, every day he opened his window and prayed. The trap closed. The sentence was mandatory. Even the king, who valued Daniel deeply, could not revoke his own law without destroying the authority that made him king. He handed Daniel over. And Daniel was lowered into the pit where the lions waited. The text says he was there all night, alone, in the dark, with the sounds no human being should have to hear. And when dawn came and the king rushed to the mouth of the pit and called out, Daniel answered. Rivière painted the night before that moment. Not the miracle, the waiting. Notice what Rivière chose not to show you. There is no angel in this painting. No divine light descending, no supernatural hand pressing the lion's back. The miracle, if it is happening at all, is invisible. What you see is a man standing still in a place where stillness should be impossible. His back is turned to you. That detail alone is extraordinary. You cannot see his face. You cannot read his expression. And Rivière made that choice deliberately, because the moment you see Daniel's face, you start looking for fear or courage. You start interpreting. You start projecting your own psychology onto his. By hiding his face, Rivière forces you to project nothing. You simply stand in the darkness with him, and you feel what you feel. That is a decision of exceptional intelligence. Most painters of that era would have shown the face. It would have been the obvious, celebrated, crowd-pleasing choice. Rivière refused it. There is one more thing in this painting that most people walk past without registering, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Look at the ground. Scattered in the foreground, bones, fragments of flesh, the remnants of those who came before Daniel and were not heard from again. Rivière included them not for shock, He included them because without them, this painting is a man standing calmly with some large cats. With them, it becomes something else entirely. Those bones are the data. They tell you what this place is. They tell you what the default outcome is supposed to be. And they make Daniel's survival not just miraculous, but incomprehensible. That is the emotional logic of the painting. You need to feel the weight of what should happen before you can feel the full force of what doesn't. The Victorians understood this immediately. Critics wrote that Daniel appeared, in one reviewer's words, as serene as still water while the lions churned around him. That contrast, animal chaos and human stillness, was not just spiritual. It landed in the gut. Rivière returned to this subject 18 years later. In 1890, he painted a second version, titled Daniel's Answer to the King. The difference between the two works is the difference between faith tested and faith vindicated. The first painting holds the breath. The second releases it. In the second version, morning light floods through an opening above, and Daniel looks upward, answering the king who called out to him. The lions are subdued. The danger has passed. Both paintings are masterpieces, but they are not equal in power. The 1872 version is harder to look at, and that is exactly why it is the more important work. It refuses to comfort you. It sits you inside the dark night and does not skip to the morning. The painting now lives in the Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool. It does not receive the attention it deserves. Few people outside England know it exists, which raises a question worth sitting with. We build entire cultures around stories of faith, surviving impossible pressure. We repeat them across religions, across centuries, across languages. Yet the painting that captures that moment most precisely, with the most psychological accuracy, the most emotional intelligence, the most technically demanding execution, hangs quietly in a regional gallery in the north of England, half forgotten. What does it say about us that we remember the story but have nearly lost the image? Daniel stood still in the dark and waited. The lions circled. Nothing moved. And somehow, though every piece of evidence in that room said otherwise, he walked out alive. The bones on the ground were not his. If this painting has stayed with you, I would genuinely like to know what you made of it. Whether you read it as a story of faith, of psychological endurance, or simply as one of the most technically extraordinary canvases of the 19th century, leave that in the comments. I read them all. And if you believe, as I do, that there is something in this painting that modern people urgently need to see, share it. That is the only way half-forgotten masterpieces find their way back into the world. I will see you in the next one.